Hi guys, it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday, so that means, oh, I've got the wrong camera on. Wait a minute, I'm going to see my gorgeous face. There we go. That means we are doing Aussie Maille Live. If you're out there watching me, send out a hello so I can make sure comments are coming through for me. I just need to click on the video myself. Just give me a couple of minutes. Okay. Hey Annette, I can see you. Hello, Wes. How you going, mate? Jane, hi, and Marion, hello. Hey, Bonnie. And Marion, another. No, two Marions. Oh, this is going to get confusing. Hey, Silver, and Joe, Leanne, and Diane. How are you all? Oh, hi, Chris.
Hi, Deb.
All right, fantastic. Steve, do I call you Steve? Do I call you Chris? Do I call you Steve, Chris? What do I call you? Daryl, how are you? Dana, how are you, sweetheart? Hazel, it's good to see you. All right, Steve. Well, I hope you've got Steve, Chris, Steve. I hope you've got your coffee beside you, mate, so you can wake up. Good morning, Alison. How's it for you? Teresa. Hey, Sue and Donna. Wow, lots of people popping in. Chris, beautiful. More Chris's. This could get confusing. All right, guys. Hey, Dawn. And Susie, hello, love. Hey, Cindy, it's good to see you. Heading into London very soon. So off to the theatre, Alison? All right, we'll get onto this quickly then. So we're doing double vision this week, also known as barrel weave. It was also used to be called Stairway to Heaven when I started chainmailing, but that name seems to have disappeared. You'll also see it called orbital weave, double orbital weave. It is a weave with a lot of names. But anyway, I call it double vision. That's what I was introduced to it as. Okay, so I'll just swap this over to the other camera and we'll make a move. All right, so I've got a few sample pieces to show you. I don't have one made up in 14 gauge purely because I couldn't get the ideal aspect ratio in a color weave, and so I didn't bother doing it in straight silver. But anyway, this is 16 gauge 5/32 or 3.97. Now, for people that have seen perhaps my tutorial for this before, I used to recommend 3/16 purely because it's looser, it's easier to weave, especially from a beginner's point of view. But from now on, our kits are going to be in the 5/32. I'm just happier with it in that size. But this is what the 3/16 looks like. As I said, it weaves up. My problem is, I don't know if you can see that, when you put it down, it becomes quite loose. It starts to lose its shape, whereas the 5/32, when you pop it down, it keeps its shape. So it's just a visually more pleasing set of rings. This is the 18 gauge version. So keeping it in the colors, I use the 9/64 or the 3.54. So if you're using just metric, 3.5 would be perfect for that. And then I went down to a 20 gauge version, which is teeny tiny and just beautiful. That I use the 7/64 for, 2.78 mils. And that is just, I don't know if you can appreciate how tiny it is, but it is just absolutely beautiful. So tonight I'm going to weave in 14 gauge like I normally do. I'm not going to weave it in the 5.25s, which is the ideal size that you would be using. So that you can see the two colours, I'm going to actually weave in the 14 gauge 1/4 inch, which has the same aspect ratio as the 3/16 rings, which is about a 3.94 aspect ratio. The ideal aspect ratio for this is the same as Byzantine, so about a 3.5. So it is going to be a little bit loose and a little bit easier to weave, but because it's 14 gauge, I wanted to do it in that size so you guys can see what we're doing. Now there are several different ways of weaving this particular weave. I'm going to show you the one that, the way that I do it first, and the way that the tutorial is written up in, and then I'll show you a couple of other different ways of doing it. So to start with, we take our coloured rings, and we need to close all of those basically to do it this way. So to start with, close up a couple of your coloured rings, and we want to pop those onto an opened BA or silver ring, or your first colour. We're going to make up several of these units. So they're just simple 3-ring units, just like this, and we're just going to make a few of those up. So if you want to do that, and I'll whip a couple of those up with you guys. So this isn't the way I actually initially learnt how to do this weave, but I didn't like the way that I was shown, or the tutorial that I purchased at the time. So I went looking for a different way of doing it, and this is what I came up with. All right, so you need to make up a few of those units, like that. And then we're going to grab another opened ring of our colour one, and we're going to slip that onto that single colour one ring of one of our units. Close that ring up, grab a twist tie or whatever it is that you use for a handle, paper clip or piece of chain. Oh, hit the camera with my pliers. Okay. All right, so we're going to need to hold the weave for the next step like this. Okay, this is important. We need to hold it in this position. I'm going to take up one of our open rings, and we're going to feed it through the 2 colour rings, like this. Okay, now this is the tricky bit. We want to sort of twist our hand, our right hand, or your dominant hand, and start moving the pliers towards the first ring in our chain. What we ultimately want to do is put this ring through the first ring, but it's very important to keep the positioning of the rings correct. So we move this so that the rings start to sit over the top, and we pop it through there. So I'll do that again for you. Try and get it as close as I can. So we move it towards and in through there. Okay, and we close that ring up. Okay, and that's basically one finished unit, if you can see that. We take another open C1 ring, we pop on one of our prepared units, and we feed it through both of these side rings here, through the C1 rings. So put it up through those, and then close the ring. Okay, and that takes us back to similar layout to the first one. And then taking an open ring, popping it through our 2 coloured rings, holding this in this positioning, moving your pliers towards the ring that we just connected the 2 units with, so that that ring goes through the connecting ring, making sure that our coloured rings keep in this position. And close it up. And you can see the units forming up. And that's basically it, guys. Nice and simple. That manoeuvre is a little bit tricky, but with a bit of patience, you'll get there. So taking an open colour ring, or a bright aluminium ring in this case, popping one of our prepared units on it, we feed that open ring so that it goes through both of the C1 rings in our work, just straight up through them. Make sure you don't pick up the colour rings at all, and close that up. And taking another open ring, I'm going to finish this unit up, putting it straight through the colour rings, giving it a little twist and moving it towards that connecting ring, putting our open ring through the connecting ring and closing it up. And that is basically all you do all the way down your unit. Yes, Steve, there are a couple of different ways of doing it. I'll show you the other ways as well. This is the way that I like to do it. It's a good way to do it when your rings are tight. So the other ways are actually going to look quite easy on these 14 gauge rings, because this the weave is so loose. But I found when your rings were a bit tight, some of these other ways of doing it made it tricky, basically. So this was my preference. So again, just through those 2 rings, giving it a little twist, keeping it on top, and then through the connecting ring. Okay, and then when you're just ready to finish off the length, just put either another C1 ring or your clasp attachment ring through there, pop your clasps on, and you're done. Okay, so as I said, that's one way of doing it. The way that I was originally shown how to do it, or the original tutorial had, was, as Steve was said, you're making up a 1-2 chain like this. So we've got 1 ring, 2 rings, 1 ring, 2 rings, 1 ring, 2 rings, like that. And then taking our, I called you Steve, didn't I? Not Chris. You're going to have to change it to Chris Steve, not Steve Chris. It's too confusing for me. All right, so what we then do is we take our sections that have got the 2 rings in it, and this is where we're going to place our other ring so that it forms the barrel. Okay, and you simply sort of move them so they're sitting like this, and we weave 1 through here, through the first ring, bringing it up just through the second ring. So it goes down through the first ring and up through the ring, the second ring, the ring underneath it, and you close that up. And you take your second ring and you do the same. So you go down through the top ring, just the top ring, and bring it up through just the bottom ring. Now, this isn't so bad, with, as I said, with this ring size, although I'm getting it all over the place here. I'm not used to weaving like this, so this is awkward for me. The other side is you can just push it through like that. But these, oh, I'm making a mess of this. As I said, these rings are quite loose. This isn't the ideal aspect ratio, and this is actually easier to do with the looser rings than it is with the tighter rings. I stopped doing it this way because I just found it too difficult with the tighter rings. But you can see it gives you the same effect. And then you would move on to the next one, making sure you've got your rings, these two rings, sitting the same way. Taking your colouring, putting it down through the top and just down through the top ring and then up through the bottom ring, the second ring, closing it up. Okay. So as I said, that is difficult when the weave is tighter. That's quite simple that way because the weaves are so loose. The other way of doing this, which is very similar to this one, is you build the chain as you add the barrels. So in this case, I've got 2 silver rings on one, like this. I'm going to separate these like we do before, and we take up our coloured ring and we go through that bottom and up through that top. This way is easier because you're not fighting the rest of the chain like you are with this version here. So even though the rings might be tighter, it's usually easier to do because you don't have these rings fixed in place. You're not fighting with other rings in the way. So you just go down through that top ring, bring it around, and or down through that bottom ring in this case because I've swapped them around. But anyway, and close it up. Then you'll want to do a similar thing like we were before. Take a couple of closed silver rings in this case, pop them on an open ring, and then we want to feed that ring up through here, up through the side, and we close that up. So it looks like that. And then we go back to adding the colour rings. So down through this ring here, up through that ring there. Pop it on there. Same with the second, through the same. So it's quite easy this way, much easier this way than with the 2-1 chain already formed. Okay, I'll do just one more. So taking another open C1 ring, popping a couple of closed ones on it, and we'll pop that up through there. And we'll close that up. And then holding those rings into position, we grab our coloured rings and we slip those in. And we do the same with the second one. Okay, and again just finishing it up with either another silver ring or a clasp attachment ring up through those sides, and then attaching the clasp, and you're done. So you can see they all produce the exact same weave, just different ways of doing it. The single one in here, for those that are interested, is actually called Rhino Snorting Drano. So 2 rings in there is double vision, barrels, etc., etc. a single ring in there like that one. Rhino Snorting Drano. Okay, all right, so red. Did I pop into the middle of a conversation, did I? Okay, all right, so for those that are interested in a free tutorial tonight for this weave, if you, let's see, since we're discussing pizzas, how about we list what our favorite pizza topping is? How does that sound? So if you want a free copy of the PDF tutorial while we are live, so not in the recorded version if anybody's watching this later, pop on your favorite pizza topping in the comments and we will send a, oh, yum. Ooh, egg. We will send a copy of the PDF.
No, you do not like egg on pizza.
No, egg on pizza's wrong.
I try to get it.
Yeah, that's just never happening. We'll send a copy of the PDF out to you guys by about Tuesday is usually when we get that out. And so that's only while we're live. If you're watching the recorded version, sorry, we won't be able to send a copy of the PDF out to you. Now, let me see. I saw some comment about the color or something.
I've got a couple for you, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
So Silver was just confirming whether or not it was around the eye. It was for the second version, but I think it's the same for the third version.
Yes, around the eye.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Around the eye, absolutely. That's the easier way of putting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dawn also sold 2 Weave a Week bracelets.
Oh, seriously?
Today.
Very well done.
Congratulations to her. And the 20 gauge was popular to everyone, so I'm sure a bit more eye candy of that would be appreciated.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Dana, I can see you asked what colours I used in the 18 gauge version. So the rings that are forming the barrel in the middle, they're black ice, and the ones on the outside are sky blue, which is just pretty. And there you go. And that's the 20 gauge version, which it really is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, I have actually done this weave in 22 gauge, and it is just too cute. But I've only done a very small piece. But I don't have that handy anymore. It's lost in one of my buckets of bits and pieces. But it is one of those weaves that just looks delightful when it gets a bit smaller. Okay, yep, the pliers are absolutely brilliant. I just totally in love with the new Lindstrom pliers. The colour of the 20 gauge is gold, Leanne. So silver on the outside, gold. Marshmallow pizza. Oh, where's? Interesting. All right, well, there's a few different ones we can try there. That looks great. All right. Okay, so I think everybody is fine with that weave. I think everything looks good there. All right, so I'm just going to pop this back here. So just to confirm those sizes again, 14 gauge, the ideal AR is works out to be about 5.25 millimeters. As you can see, you can do it in the 1/4 inch, but it is loose. 16 gauge, 5/32 makes the nice tight weave. 3/16 is looser. That has the same aspect ratio as the 1/4 inch that I've just woven. 18 gauge is 9/64 or 3.5 mils, and 20 gauge is 7/64. And if you're working in metric, that's you'll be wanting about a 2.75. Okay. The 18, 16, 18, and 20 gauge is in the tutorial. I didn't put the 14 gauge size down. The tutorial is written for 2 colours, and I didn't want to put the 1/4 inch in as a colour option because I don't like that particular ring size combination, so I haven't put that down in the tutorial, but the other 3 sizes are in it. All right, so speaking of tutorials, we're going to be making a slight change in the next couple of weeks with our tutorials. Up until now, we've been handing out free tutorials to everybody that turns up for our live session. And we will continue to do that until the end of July. But come August, we're actually going to stop handing out free tutorials to everybody that turns up, and we'll be offering a tutorial subscription. So it'll be a weekly basis. Signing up will be the same as what we do for our mail club, so it'll be through PayPal. You can access it, not yet, we haven't got it up yet, but you will be able to access it through our website. And we'll be, I think it's about, what was the final price? About $4.80, something like that. It's 20% off our normal asking price for the tutorials, and you'll get those delivered weekly. We're probably looking at delivering them on, say, a Friday just before the Saturday demonstration. So that's something we'll be doing. So for this week and next week, up until the end of July, we will still give out the free tutorials to everybody who pops along. But after July, we won't be doing that anymore. So the subscriptions, and it'll come out weekly. You won't have to wait a whole month for it to turn up like you do with the Mail Club kits. Every week you'll get a new tutorial in your inbox, and you'll be debited weekly as well, not monthly. So that's a new change that's happening. So I hope everybody is cool with that. So we've given away many hundreds of tutorials since we've started, and we will still be giving prizes away, but not everybody will just automatically get that tutorial. So you will still get them as part of the Saturday Night Mailers Club, Sylvan. It doesn't affect that at all. These are just for those that don't want the rings, don't need the rings, but we're after the tutorials only. We've had a couple of requests for tutorials only, and at the time we were giving them away, so there wasn't any point in doing a subscription service. But we've since looked into doing that. So the demonstrations obviously are still going to go ahead. We're not going to change those at all. We will still give away prizes, but they might be slightly different prizes on our demonstration. So it's just changing that not everybody's going to get a copy of the tutorial, basically. You know, I've had a few comments from people telling me that they don't sign up for the Mail Club because they can't make the sessions. I just want to say here that you don't have to attend the sessions to enjoy the Mail Club. It's still a really good deal on its own. You still get the instructions, and you can still watch the videos at a later time. So if you want to be a member of the Saturday Night Mailers Club, but you can't actually make the sessions or make all of the sessions, it's not a reason not to join up if that's what you want to do. Yeah, as I was just saying, Michelle, you don't have to make these live sessions. We do record all of these. They do stay on Facebook. So if you still want to see the demonstration will be available to you. It does mean that you can't ask any questions of your own live, but you can absolutely send us questions or make comments on the tutorial or on the video. We still see those come up even after the video has finished being live, so you don't have to make these tutorials. You will, these sessions. You still get the tutorials and everything that you need with the kids. We just like, you know, I mean, if you want to turn up and chat with us, we're happy to do that, but it's not necessary for you to enjoy the subscriptions. Okay, Heath is here. He's slacking off. He doesn't have his pen. There he is. I think Heath's a little jealous because, you know, I've got the Eggy Knights a little bit closer to me than he is, but I do have him there. Well, yeah, unfortunately, international is a little bit more expensive because of the cost of shipping. We've got absolutely no control over that. And we put tracking on all our postage, just so that if things do go astray, we can track them down and find them. But yeah, the kits prices are exactly the same. It's just the shipping, Chris, that makes it that little bit more expensive for us. So this Monday and Tuesday, we'll start sending out August's kits.
Yep, already just about.
So if you still want to sign up, you've got tomorrow to do that, and we can fit you into the August kits. I'm going to try this time to get a copy or your tracking out to you, because we did have a couple this month that were late. So I will try to get a copy of your tracking numbers out to you guys so you can track your own parcels. And if you can see it just sitting still and not going anywhere, let us know, so that we don't have the situation again where somebody doesn't have their kits in time for the new month. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to get them there in time, but we want to do everything we can to get them to you guys. We send them out almost 2 weeks early, hoping that they'll get there. But sometimes Australia Post is, Australia Post is Australia Post. They are a law until they're themselves. Okay, so I think that's it.
I just lost connection.
Oh, is that what the face was for? It was an attractive face.
Always.
Yeah, well, some of these parcels are going through really quickly, and others are just getting bogged down because their sorting centres aren't actually manned anymore. Most of them are automatic. If something happens and the system hiccups, these parcels get sort of put aside, and they don't get sorted until we say to Australia Post, well, look, where is it? And then they can ask somebody to go and look for it. So the sooner that you notice that perhaps it's been sitting still for too long, let us know, because the quicker we know, the quicker we can get onto Australia Post and we can get them moving. Normally, as soon as we put that inquiry in, they start moving again. All right, guys, well, hopefully that's everything. Thank you so much for coming along. And as I said, free tutorials this week, next week. After that, the subscription service. So after next Saturday, we will have the subscription service up on the website. We won't put it up until we're ready to switch over to that. And as I said, that billing will be weekly, not monthly. So I think it's about $4.80, something like that, guys. All right, thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed the weave. It's actually one of my favourite weaves. Very good for charm bracelets. If you're looking for an idea for charm bracelets, the connecting rings are really good for that sort of thing. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming, and we will see you next week. All right, take care. Bye.